Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez walked into a hearing with two jars. One contained clean water. The other contained water from Morgan County, Georgia, where Meta is building a massive data center campus. The only difference between the two jars was that data center.
I have a jar right here. This is the current drinking water in Morgan County, Georgia, right after a data center was constructed. The Meta data center was constructed. The only difference between the clean water and this was that data center.
She asked the EPA's assistant administrator for water, "Are you aware of complaints about data center construction impacting drinking water quality?" He said he was aware of concerns about water availability, but not water quality. No complaints had been raised to his attention. Then AOC showed him the jar.
Are there any are you observing any negative impacts on data center construction on water quality for Americans?
I don't think anything like that's been raised to my attention.
Okay.
Families in Morgan County are losing water pressure. Their appliances have stopped working. They rely on bottled water to drink. Water bills are expected to increase by 33%. She asked if the EPA plans any investigations. The administrator said he would look into it when he got back to the office. He was not aware of any mandates for data centers to test water quality before construction. This is not a hearing about policy. It's about proof. AOC brought it in two jars. The administrator had no answer. Let's watch.
Assistant Administrator Kramer, you are in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Water, correct?
Correct.
And in your written testimony, you communicated a value that I think we all appreciate, which is that a top priority for EPA is ensuring continued drinking water safety, right?
Correct.
And this is a bedrock foundational value of the EPA, and it's one of the big reasons why it exists. I also appreciate your commitment to clean water specifically. In fact, you said it very well on a MAHA action call just last month that, quote, "When I turn the tap on and when every American turns the tap on, there should be confidence in what's in your drinking water." And I think that's a value that we all share. I wanted to ask you, while I have you here, if you've been receiving complaints or if you are aware of folks reaching out about data center construction impact on drinking water quality.
I am aware.
You're aware. And what are some of the things that you're seeing and hearing?
So one of, I think, the biggest concerns is related to water availability, which is why we recently relaunched the Water Reuse Action Plan 2.0 to focus on ensuring that whether it's yes. data centers or
anything about water quality, though?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Are there any complaints? Are you observing any negative impacts on data center construction on water quality for Americans?
I don't think anything like that's been raised to my attention.
Okay. I would like to do so. A few weeks ago, while Congress was in recess, I visited Morgan County, Georgia, where Meta is building a massive data center campus. They are clear-cutting forests and began heavy construction, including explosive blasting. And families in the area are starting to see not only their water pressure decrease, to your point about water availability, but their appliances have all stopped working because it is decimating their water quality. They now rely on bottled water to drink and prepare meals, and nearby residents' water bills are expected to increase by 33%. In fact, I have a jar right here. This is the current drinking water in Morgan County, Georgia, right after a data center was constructed. The Meta data center was constructed. The only difference between the clean water and this was that data center. I have another one as well. So this wasn't just one well. These wasn't just one family's situation. This is what the drinking water now looks like next to that data center. And I think both of us can agree that neither one of these things are drinkable. These families now have to ship, in a rural area, have to ship water to their house in order to cook and bathe themselves. Now, I'm curious if the EPA plans any investigations on how data centers are affecting water quality and availability. I understand what you said about the rule, but are there going to be any open investigations on this issue?
So as soon as I get back to the office, I will be looking into exactly what you've just talked about, because anywhere, whatever type of construction it is a priority to ensure that water quality standards established by EPA are being met. And so we'll be looking into that certainly.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate that because I think this is of utmost importance, and we're seeing this happening across the country. I'd also like to ask about the administration's push to build more data centers by fast-tracking construction. Because the administration's been issuing executive orders to fast-track data center construction when we know that water quality is encountering major issues. Are there any mandates for data centers to do water quality testing prior to construction?
Of like coming from a public water supply, drinking water supply sampling?
Wells, yeah.
I'm not aware of anything like that. However, it doesn't mean I'm just not aware of it. It might exist, but I'm not.
Yes, of course. I think it's important that, you as an agency official, we have to make sure we're doing these investigations. And then us, on a congressional level, I'd like to note that I think it's of utmost importance that we also launch congressional investigations into this matter as well, so that we can partner with the EPA and ensure that the drinking water for this country continues to be safe and accessible for the American people. So thank you, Administrator.
This hearing is a masterclass in how to use a prop, not a PowerPoint, not a chart, not a report that no one will read. 2 jars, one with clean water, one with brown, sediment-filled, undrinkable water, and a story about Morgan County, Georgia. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez began by establishing common ground. She quoted the administrator's own words back to him. "When I turn the tap on, and when every American turns the tap on, there should be confidence in what's in your drinking water." He said it. He meant it. Or at least, he said he meant it. Then she asked the question that the administrator was not ready for. "Are you aware of complaints about data center construction impacting drinking water quality?" He said he was aware of concerns about water availability. But water quality? Nothing had been raised to his attention. That is where the trap closed. Because AOC had been to Morgan County. She had seen the wells. She had talked to the families whose appliances stopped working because the water was so full of sediment. She had heard about the 33% increase in water bills, and she had brought evidence. She held up the jar. She placed it on the table. She let the administrator look at it. Then she told the story. Meta is building a massive data center campus. They are clear-cutting forests. They are using explosive blasting, and the water that comes out of the taps next to that construction looks like mud. Not one well, not one family. This is what the drinking water now looks like. The administrator's response is telling. He said he would look into it as soon as he got back to the office. That is not a plan. That is a promise to maybe someday do something. He had no investigation open. He had no mandate to require data centers to test water quality prior to construction. He was not aware of any such mandate. He was not even sure one existed. He was, by his own admission, unaware. AOC did not attack him. She did not accuse him of lying. She simply thanked him for his commitment and said she would launch congressional investigations to partner with the EPA. That is the move. She is not waiting for the administration to act. She is forcing them to act by creating a public record that cannot be ignored. The underlying issue here is the collision between 2 priorities. The administration wants to fast-track data center construction. Executive orders have been issued. Permits are being expedited. The tech industry is happy. But no one asked what happens to the people who live next to these data centers. Morgan County is not a wealthy area. It is rural Georgia. These are families who cannot afford to ship in bottled water. They cannot afford to replace their appliances when the sediment clogs them. They cannot afford a 33% increase in their water bills. They are being sacrificed for the sake of progress, and no one at the EPA had heard about it. Or so the administrator claimed. AOC's genius is that she made the abstract concrete. Data center construction affecting water quality is a policy problem. It is vague, it is bureaucratic, it is easy to ignore. But a jar of brown water from Morgan County, Georgia, sitting on a hearing room table, is not vague. It is not bureaucratic. It is impossible to ignore. Every reporter in that room saw it. Every camera captured it. Every person who watches this hearing will remember it. The administrator's promise to look into it is now on the record. If nothing changes, AOC can bring that jar back. She can ask him why he didn't look into it. She can hold him accountable. The other notable aspect of this exchange is what the administrator did not say. He did not dispute that the water was contaminated. He did not offer an alternative explanation. He did not defend Meta or the construction practices. He simply said he was not aware. That is the bureaucrat's shield. I didn't know. No one told me. It wasn't raised to my attention. AOC dismantled that shield by telling him, on the record, in front of the entire country. Now he knows. Now he cannot claim ignorance. Now the ball is in his court. This hearing is also a lesson in how to question a witness when you already know the answer. AOC did not ask open-ended questions. She asked yes or no questions. Are you aware? Yes. Have you received complaints? No. Are there mandates? I'm not aware. She established facts. She built a record. She did not let him filibuster. And when she had what she needed, she presented her evidence and made her ask, "Will you investigate?" He said yes. That is a commitment. Whether he follows through is a different question. But now it is on the record. The jar is the star of this hearing. It is simple. It is visual. It is undeniable. AOC could have read a report about water quality in Morgan County. She could have cited studies and statistics. Instead, she brought the water itself. She let it speak. And what it said was that the EPA is not doing its job. The administrator's own words, "There should be confidence in what's in your drinking water," were turned against him. The families in Morgan County have no confidence. They have brown water. They have broken appliances. They have 33% higher bills. And they have a congresswoman who brought their water to Washington. This is oversight. Not speeches, not press releases, not tweets. A jar of contaminated water on a hearing room table. That is what accountability looks like.